what we're finding is that next generation of customers, they care about what you care about, and you have to put that in your marketing and make sure you're kind of telling that story. They care if you have a purpose, they want to buy from you if you do. And so we're figuring that out at 100 Coconuts because, our mission is to be real, authenticity matters, and you see that it's just made out of one ingredient. But how do we tell that story to our customers? Sustainability, right? You used to write it down in your brand guidelines and then you'd all go from there, but now it matters in your marketing.
This is You Should Talk To, a podcast for busy marketing leaders who are looking for support and tips on getting shit done. In each episode, Daniel Weiner interviews marketing leaders and discusses their experience, successes, and failures around hiring agencies. If you're interested in finding and choosing the right agency partner, then let's jump in.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the You Should Talk To podcast. I am Daniel Weiner, your host, your sponsor, your everything. You Should Talk To pairs brands and marketers for free with vetted agencies and or freelancers for pretty much any marketing or tech need, because finding great agencies is a pain in the ass and time consuming. Today I'm super excited to be joined by Monica Fleury, my longtime friend and newly minted first-time CMO of 100 Coconuts. Monica, how are we?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You texted me last night that you were stressed and a little nervous about this. We're gonna make it easy on you. So I hope this goes smoothly. Your first podcast.
My first.
Wow. Well, now that you have a fancy schmancy CMO title, you'll get hit up every 12 seconds for one, I'm sure.
You keep saying that, but I should have been on this a long time ago.
I try. You're tough to get in front of, Monica. What can I say? But no, we are here now. That's what's important. I was going to do like an Auburn soccer intro. I was going to try to find some music or something that was like your walk-up song, essentially. But,
Eye of the Tiger.
Is that what it is?
No, that was not my walk. I think
Could have been. I mean,
Poison. That Girl Is Poison was my walk-up song. Yeah.
That's fair. I'll see if we can edit that, and gotta check the copyright on that. But we'll dive right in. My first question I ask everybody: what is an unpopular opinion you have in the marketing world, or a hot take of sorts?
Yeah, so this one hurts as of recently, but we've been diving into, as an emerging brand, a lot of influencer marketing, and the rates are just insane right now. So I am a firm believer that influencer marketing is not for every brand, and you don't just have to pay big influencers a ton of money to get reach. So what I've been diving into a lot at 100 Coconuts is who is that right ambassador for us, whether it's a celebrity, an athlete, or just those very, true loyalists that are, not influencers, but can have an impact on their friends, their family, and their communities. So it's just insane, these rates that we're seeing for one reel, one TikTok, one story. And I just don't think brands, especially in our space where we're emerging, we're new, it's just crazy. And I don't think every brand has to do it just because you see other brands, getting every influencer that they have at their pop-up or sharing their cool sweatshirts that they sent them.
You guys should get me to do. I'll do anything for a couple bucks or some free product, truthfully.
Yeah.
So,
and that doesn't mean you don't reach out. That doesn't mean you don't introduce influencers to your product, because you never know. Like, we had a lot of success at BioLite just sending product because the product worked. And these celebrities would try it. They might talk about it in their next interview or do a post on it that's very organic and not paid. I think that consumers are smarter than we think, and they know what's real and what's fake. So
I agree. Consumers are smart. I do want to talk about your past a bunch, but for those who don't know, what is 100 Coconuts?
It is pure coconut water. I've got it right here.
Yeah, let's get some product placement.
Great source.
You owe me $20,000 now for that product placement. So
let's do it again.
Yeah. That's
how many times can I show it during the interview?
I was gonna say I could retire after this.
But that is truly what it is. So we have pure, we have pineapple, and we have mango. And this that I'm drinking right here is truly just coconut water. It's from Vietnam, and it's sourced from young green coconuts, and it's delicious and it's exciting. We're in a really special place right now, and we're growing like crazy. So I'm happy to be there.
That's awesome. I expect some product after this. I'll post it everywhere.
If you treat me kindly.
Okay, I won't bully you on the spot on your first podcast, but no, you have had I would say quite the journey. You've had agency experience. You worked at Hooters for a very long time. I think it was almost 9 years, which is kind of unheard of in the marketing world these days. You were at BioLite, and now 100 Coconuts. My biggest question I like to ask is, along the way, what's like the biggest change you've seen in kind of like consumer behavior across different types of industries?
It's been interesting. I think for me and where I am today, back in the day, you'd write down a mission or a vision internally and everyone would, align and move forward on that. But now that matters to your customer and that matters to your consumer. And what we're finding is that next generation of customers, they care about what you care about, and you have to put that in your marketing and make sure you're kind of telling that story. They care if you have a purpose. They want to buy from you if you do. And so we're figuring that out at 100 Coconuts because, our mission is to be real. Authenticity matters. And you see that it's just made out of one ingredient. But how do we tell that story to our customers? Sustainability, right? You used to write it down in your brand guidelines and then you'd all go from there. But now it matters in your marketing.
Do you think that has changed in terms of, I don't know, how you're marketing to consumers now versus a decade ago?
I do. I think you have to tell that story. You don't just have to say, hey, our food is great or our product is great. You have to share what you believe in.
I agree. I'm curious your opinion. I think I hate to reference TikTok, but I saw a TikTok recently where they were making fun of some brands because like some brands have gone too far. Like they have no mission, but they say they're like, oh,
right.
Like
it has to be authentic.
Yeah, and it makes brands look sillier when they like lean into something like that just to say that they have like a purpose and a mission. So authenticity is all the rage these days, I hear.
And it doesn't have to be complex. Like ours is we bring real coconut water to the world, right? We bring better tasting coconut water to the world, and we celebrate authenticity, and that, is in every piece of marketing that we do.
Maybe that's the answer to my next question. But now that you've reached Everest, the pinnacle of marketing titles, and you've gotten the CMO title, what is your best piece of advice to other marketing leaders that are currently in the role or aspire to be, a VP, a CMO, a head of marketing at a brand? What's your best piece of advice to them for 2024, I would say, because I don't think 24 started as rosy as many were hoping.
So I would say I definitely know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, and to hire to your weaknesses, right? Like my team, I've been around and I've seen strategy go wrong, and I've seen campaigns fail, and I've seen campaigns succeed, and, trust your team, celebrate the small wins. I don't know anything about Gen X. Like, I'm not going to pretend that I do. I'm going to learn, but I want, my team who does know about that consumer to feel like they are empowered enough to do their job and know that they have my support. And I just, yes, be there, make sure that the brand vision is right, the strategy is right as the leader, but really trust your team and get some good hires out there. I mean, the layoffs that are happening right now are crazy, and it's really hard to shine, I think, as a new hire in this world. So hire to your weaknesses, empower your team, and celebrate small wins, because you truly do have to fail to learn and then to grow from there. And if you don't let your team do it, which I did it all the time in my past. I'll just do it. I can do it faster. I'll just get it done. And you don't build your team's strengths that way. I'm the first. I mean, it's bad. That's definitely probably how I've gotten to where I am. I'm going
to start asking you to do stuff for me.
I know I will. I will. It's bad. I do stuff for friends.
Can you update my website? That'd be great.
I can. Like, I designed an email for us last week. I probably shouldn't have been doing that,
Monica,
right?
it's good to get. I think differently. It's good to get your hands dirty, but yes, you should.
It is.
The fact that you're willing to do that is different from many CMOs
I'm absolutely willing to do it. I think that's the type of leader that I am, but that sometimes has hurt my team members because I'll just take care of it. I'll just get it done, and that doesn't give them the chance to learn.
No, makes sense. I'm guessing that not a massive change has occurred since you've been in marketing leadership at well-known brands for a while, but now that you have the CMO title, folks in your world that I speak to are getting hit up like every 12 seconds by agencies, vendors, who just assume you have billions of dollars to spend on everything that they need. So I am curious, A, if you have had that happen or if you've seen a noticeable change since you got the CMO title, and what is your, if you could look directly into the camera and give a message to the agencies out there who hypothetically want to work with you, what would you say?
Yeah, well, one, it's interesting. It happened when I got a vice president title as well. I mean, everything shifted with that title change. Even
me too.
though
I had a BSVP title and everything changed. You had a real one.
Everything changes, and it's funny, my role didn't really change. I still had the leadership role. I still could make the decisions, the same decisions that I could as a VP, as a director, but it's that title that everyone now wants to reach out to you. Same with CMO. You're not wrong. I get hit up all the time. And really, I care about referrals. So like that dinner you hosted, it was great to talk about, what agencies have you been working with?
A lot of shit talking about dinner.
No. Who do you like? Who don't you like? No. But referrals matter, and then you do a great job of this as well. But I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and if you're not present on LinkedIn, that's where I find a lot of people that I want to work with, a lot of vendors I want to work with, a lot of agency partners. I will say, we know what we need. So if you email us once, you email us twice, and we haven't responded, or you haven't heard from us, probably don't email us again. Like, we will reach out, and we do remember emails as well, or messages on LinkedIn. So if it doesn't fit our need at the time, we will remember and we will reach out. But a lot of where I see a lot of the wins on the agency side or vendors is from referrals. I got a good one from your friends at Freddy's recently. So, yeah. Little plug for them. Charge them $20,000 too.
Shout out Laura Ruckel, I guess. I'll have to send this episode to her and let her know that. Is that who it was from? She was at the dinner.
Erin Walter.
Oh, gotcha.
Her VP.
Her number two. I think.
Number two. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I'm always glad to hear when that stuff happens. Since we talked about how that's a perfect example from the dinner. Now we can gossip about agencies without naming them. Do you want to do your positive experience or your negative experience first? I give the option.
Doesn't matter.
We'll end on a high note. Let's do some trauma first. Let's talk about a really bad agency experience you've had and what made it so bad.
So there've been a lot. It was hard to
narrow it down,
but I truly believe this. Any bad agency experience that I've had has been the fault of the brand, and I believe that in my heart.
People are crying somewhere right now at agencies listening to you. They're like, thank you so much for saying.
Well, and I've been on the other side, like you said, and was the brief clear enough? Were you aligned with the agency? Did you give them a budget that they could work with? Did you give them unrealistic expectations? Was the timeline too tight? Usually those were all the reasons why something did not succeed. And you have to, I don't know, on the brand side, you just have to realize, like, is this worth it? Is this short-term project, is it worth it to put your agency through the ringer, expect the most of them, and then they might not come out with the best results? Like, I truly believe it's on the side of the brand when an agency fails. There are a lot of good agencies out there. You experienced this with us at one point when I was
now you're bringing up my trauma, Monica.
No, but you guys succeeded. You met...
Did we?
I think so. You met unrealistic expectations with a budget that was crazy. And as a brand, you cannot you're setting the agency up for failure.
We certainly tried, yes, at my old agency a billion years ago. But yeah, that is to this day one of the most wildest
Traumatic.
Yeah, a little bit. I won't tell that story on this podcast. I'll wait till I do like a therapy podcast. That'll be my next.
I'll
one.
be your therapist. We can talk. We'll sort that out together since I was there.
I generally find it's in between. Like, there's very few. I get so much from CMOs and VPs and anybody working with agencies of negative. And usually, like, if I really dive in, and most, marketing leaders are honest and reasonable, they're like, yeah, it was somewhere in between. But, it's a combination of factors. Brand did this, agency didn't push back ever. And,
that's
it's usually somewhere
right.
in the middle.
Not pushing back is a big, but it's hard, right? When you're an agency and you push back, and the brand that you're working with or on retainer with or you've been with for 4+ years.
I can remember a client of mine before I left my old agency I think they told me, and then they went to my boss and said, if Danny brings up scope again, we don't want him to, like, on the calls or something. And I said, well, then stop asking for things that aren't in the scope. What do you want me to do?
How do you balance that as an agency, right? We would meet with my very first agency at Hooters. We would meet with them, and they'd be like, "Look, here are our hours. It is getting insane." And they never charged us for those because they just wanted to be a good partner. And it's
They want that logo.
yeah, and that's not fair as a brand. And I think I told you this, and I think you thought I was crazy, but I went in my last role and I vetted all of the agency partners and vendors, and I did get rid of some, but the others that showed true value, I increased their retainers, and I don't, like, without them asking. And to me, that's important as well, right? You pay for what you get back. And if you invest in them, they invest in you. And I truly believe that.
Then what is a super positive agency experience? Do you have one of those?
I do. I have
Okay.
a positive agency experience.
Well, lay it on me.
So a positive agency experience of mine, it actually came because of COVID, which is kind of crazy to thank COVID.
This podcast came from COVID. So.
Yeah. But when we were at Hooters, we were moving so fast. We had so many projects ongoing, and COVID let us take a step back and look at our branding, our audience, what our goals were, and did they still align with the Hooters brand at that time. And we got to completely do a brand refresh for an almost 40-year-old brand. We would have never been able to do that had we not had a chance to just pause. And we worked with the agency that we had been with for, I want to say, almost 5 years at the time. And at that point, there was so much trust, there was so much understanding of the brand, and we had so much fun. And it was truly my favorite project that I worked on while I was there, going back and forth on messaging, fonts, new colors, new photography styles. For a 40-year-old brand, it was quite the project, but
Sounds like it.
They're still using that branding today. The strategy might have shifted a little bit, but it really did completely revamp that brand and help them speak to that next generation of customers that they were wanting. Because if you think of that brand, sometimes you think just a certain demographic goes there, and they were more nostalgic, more retro, cooler than you might think, and we weren't leaning into that. So we leaned in and worked with that agency, and there was so much trust and so much understanding and so much creativity that had happened over those 4 years that it just became easy. And then we did things like shoot every item on the menu in a way, it was a doozy, in a way that, and I was pregnant, so I was virtual while they were doing it, having to approve all of the shots during COVID. Yeah, it worked. They still use them today. We shot them in a way that we could use them in every piece of advertising that we did. They'd never done that before. It was like, hey, we need to shoot this LTO. We need to shoot this one new product, right? But we took a step back and we just started from scratch. And it really was, I think that it turned out well, and they still use everything that we did.
I'm curious, was the positive experience more about the actual experience and it was seamless, or was it about the work? Like, the process was madness and crazy, but you arrived at something great? I generally, the reason I ask, like, when I get crazy positive feedback about agencies in general, but largely my own agency partners, it's rarely about the work. Like, if I ask, it's like, yeah, the work was good. But it's like, oh, they were so kind, or like they made the process easy. Like, they made my life easier during this stressful, crazy thing. It's rare that I find CMOs lead with the work. Like, it comes, and of course you can't do bad work, but it's rare that the first words out of their mouths are like, oh, the thing that we did turned out incredible.
It truly was the case here. So it was seamless when we worked together. Like, they made it easy. I think it was COVID. We're all working from home. They made it easy. The timeline was shorter than we had planned. And really that was the 4 years that we had built a relationship. Like, their account manager at the time, I mean, she's, far up in the company now, but she thought like me. She had been with me for so long that she knew exactly what I was looking for, and it had been building that. I don't think you're going to get that with a new agency right off the bat, right?
It's hard, for sure.
So the process was seamless. The process was great, and their creative director was fantastic as well. And he just got it, right? We knew what the brand needed at that time, but then the work was also amazing too. I presented what came out of it at our franchise meeting, and we got a standing ovation. And that
standing O, Monica?
that has never happened
Wow.
with franchisees in the restaurant industry.
I was going to say ever. Yeah.
In my
Usually
9
you get
years that I was there.
Stuff thrown at you is more the norm.
But they felt, we were listening to them. And with a brand like that, that's so well known, there's so many different opinions on how to market it correctly. And they felt we finally listened to them. We were bringing back the true essence of the brand, and we did that work with an agency. And they led the way, and it was truly a great experience. We at that point you've built 5 years of a relationship where you can just be very honest with each other and
Sure.
cut the BS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it was fun. It really was fun, and the work was great too.
That's awesome. Have you thought of your agency trauma yet? I want a specific story before we get to the last final.
So went through a brand refresh recently as well. That is what I love, the brand side of marketing, and truly where I went from social and running social at Hooters to digital. Then I went to the brand side. And so in a recent role, we were doing a brand refresh, pretty similar, we need to hone in on the messaging, and we hired an agency that came recommended, and they were wonderful, and they just got beat up on publicly even at times in interviews, and they just didn't deserve that. And I think we had 30 iterations of that document, and it was a fault of ours, I believe, and I don't think we ever got to a final product. And I think we had unrealistic expectations, or we didn't know who we were yet to fully give that project to an agency. And maybe it was a little bit too of they were new. They were trying to get into a new industry as well. They were wonderful to work with. It just never resulted in a great product, the work, I guess, like you would say.
No, that's interesting. I don't often, this is episode, 38 or something like that. That's a unique story in that it sounds, unless you're just trying to be super ridiculously nice, that the agency didn't really do anything wrong. It was more an unfortunate situation. And like if somebody asked you about them or a recommendation, it sounds like you wouldn't have terrible
I would recommend them. Yeah, I've connected someone that worked there has past coconut water experience, and I've been talking to them. So no, I would absolutely recommend them. They just weren't the right agency for the job.
You're making a commercial for me without me even asking, Monica. That's the whole shtick. Finding an agency is easy. Finding the right agency is really, really, really hard. There are so many agencies, and it has some to do with experience, but also just like, again, I hated it at the very beginning of my business when people would be like, oh, the vibe. And then I'm like, it's like 98% vibe.
Yeah.
Like 2%. Like, I think at this stage people trust, like, I'm not going to send an agency that is not wildly capable. But it doesn't matter if you don't vibe together, as they say.
Have you truly met agencies that were just not capable at all, though?
I have, yes.
You have?
A lot. Because, it depends on capable in what realm. There are a lot of agencies that I chat with. Because, again, like, I think they try to be very, like, braggadocious or, like, chest pounding. But if I dive in, they'll tell me they do something. And when I dive in, it's like, oh, like, well, we have, like, a guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, like, so do you actually, like, do that thing? Well, like, sometimes, but it's not really, like, a core of what they do. So I feel like agencies, I hate to say lie, but bend the truth of what they do. But, yeah, I think they oversell, which makes it, when they win stuff that they can't do, yeah, they're just not great at that thing, right? I think generally agencies are good at a couple things.
That's going to hurt them in the long run. I think stay true to those couple. When you get on an agency's website and they're like, we do PR, we do media planning and buying, we do brand, we do everything under the sun. Like, do you truly want an agency that does it all, or do you want a few agencies that do a few things really well?
Yeah, it's why I take painstaking amount of time to talk to agencies, but also the brands to make sure that like I really get what they're, and again, there's certain things that are important. Some brands, again, I think have realistic expectations where they want an agency that check, 5 just like absurd boxes, right? And I'm like, yeah, I don't have anybody who checks every single one, but like I'm pretty good at what I do.
They want a unicorn.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, there's peace of mind if you're a coconut water brand and somebody says they have coconut experience.
Yeah.
But it also guarantees nothing. It doesn't guarantee any sort of success or anything in that realm. So I think it's more keeping an open mind to a few of the right agencies.
And that's happening internally, too. Like, the job descriptions that I have put together recently, it's like, you're never going to find this person.
Unless they work at a competitor. Like, that's a lot of the conversations I have.
But even the asks of their job description are insane. It's like, if a person can do all of this is really 3 people. But that's where, on the brand side with, the state of the economy and with layoffs, and you're asking too much of each person. And you need to narrow your focuses.
I agree. That was enough trauma, Monica. You did great.
I know.
The rest is positive, I think.
I should be more, savage? I'm not
looking for savage, truthfully. It's more around, again, like the thing that most of the stories lend themselves to is it is all, the one I had my first podcast of the year yesterday. I talked to Casey Jenkins, who is the SVP of marketing at Sendoso, which is a B2B gifting platform. Her negative experience was about kind of what I said, an agency oversold on a really big website migration. And it was less about the work. They could have potentially fixed it, right? Or just owned it. And they didn't really own it. It was more like, I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was like, they like doubled down on, now we'll get a different person to do this thing that like we already shouldn't have done, probably. The silver lining of that was she found a wonderful agency that got her out of a horrific situation. The bad was that when she tried getting the old agency on the phone, they didn't answer for like 5 hours on the day of a website launch, So like stuff like that,
I've never had an experience like that.
Right. So again, it's large. Like there are certain simple things that I look for in an agency, like pick up your phone on the day of a website launch. Or help people through the shit when it happens. Undoubtedly, no agency and brand are perfect.
I have fired off some crazy emails, I will say.
I don't know if you've ever sent me a crazy email.
No, but like when the expectations or you feel like you've communicated clearly and it just wasn't received well on the other side.
Yeah.
But I've always called and apologized.
Tough but fair. Tough but fair. That's what everyone should be.
I'm sure
I have no problem with that.
My old agency, if they listen to this, will know exactly what I'm talking about. But you have to work together, but an agency that's selling them, themselves on things that they just can't accomplish is wild to me. Because you're gonna have a bad reputation after that, and like I said, referrals matter. It's a
part. I would argue there's some fault or some blame on the brands. I've been in situations where a brand has said in my old agency, like, you did this super well, can you do that? And we'd be like, no. And they'd keep asking. Again, could we have said no 20 times? Yeah, of course. Eventually you're like, maybe we'll figure it out for a little bit of money,
Well, and I take, responsibility on that project I was talking to you about because I took a risk on them. It was a referral, again, an agency I had never worked with, but I probably could have vetted them a little bit more to know that they really thrived in the restaurant industry and not CPG.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to, right? But they weren't there yet, and that's on me as well.
Totally fair. What are you most excited about in the marketing space at the moment?
Oh, I laughed at this because AI you had on there, I don't know, and I've had to come in at 100 coconuts and say, like, we cannot.
Monica, you're not supposed to tell the audience that I send you
some
pre-vetted questions. No, this is great. This is raw and authentic that you should talk to.
Well, I laughed at the one example because I came in and we were using some AI, created graphics and all this. I'm like, we are a brand that, our mission, our values all align with authenticity. Like, we have to be authentic in everything that we do. And so we scratched all AI from our social strategy, which probably makes my social media managers life a little bit harder. But
You're cutting down coconuts now?
yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, I want to go to Vietnam and see where the coconut water is.
I'd love to go Vietnam as well. Let's
Yeah.
go.
But so what I'm excited about right now and in this role and in an emerging brand, so I've been, 40-year-old brand to now we're 5 years old and we're really growing now. Last year they saw a tremendous amount of growth as well, but we're opening up doors. A lot of exciting announcements coming out about the retail expansions that we have. But we have to get back to basics in understanding who our customer is, in-person experiences, local marketing. Like, we aren't everywhere. We don't need to be a brand, and I think they're doing a tremendous job, but like Poppy, who is everywhere, has national distribution, and they can invest more marketing dollars into these fun and exciting, pop-ups and PR kits and everything like that. We have to get back to basics. I mentioned to you, we're refreshing our website, making sure that customer experience is solid, and then how does that really play into everything else that we're doing? Personalization, I think, is big for us, right? For an emerging brand like ours. And then it's fun too when you're at a brand like 100 Coconuts, but we can speed up innovation. We don't have as many, approval processes, which is exciting. And so I see innovation for a brand like ours as a huge opportunity as well. But my whole thing is get back to basics. We don't have to be someone that we're not in 2024. We need to target around our retailers, target our customers, and make sure that they're thinking about 100 Coconuts when they walk into a Publix.
I love it.
Yeah.
What keeps you up at night?
I know. The layoffs that are happening.
I thought you were going to say this podcast.
No. But my husband and I were laughing about it last night because we'll get to that. But not to give away your questions, but one of the questions later, he was like, "You're disgusting," because of what I wanted my answer to be.
I think I know which question you're talking about.
No, but the layoffs happening.
Keep me up at night as well.
There's so many good people out there that are stuck in roles that they don't want to be in, but they're afraid to put themselves out there because of these layoffs happening. I'm fortunate enough to be at a place where our revenue we're growing every month and year over year. That's not the case for every company. And these layoffs are scary. And I also wonder, what are all of these people doing? If it's been 3 years and you haven't been able to find a job, that is really scary. And I don't want that for my friends and my family. It's hit my family a lot recently too. And it's no fault of their own, right? But yeah, that's what keeps me up. And my baby also keeps me up at night.
Literally keeps
me up
at
night. No, he's a great sleeper.
That's good. We'll finish with some fun ones. What was your very first job?
So this one was tough because I didn't have a job because soccer was my job, and I moved up to New York in a U-Haul with my best friend and lived in a room with 2 other girls, and I got paid $25 a day to do Broadway marketing. In New York City. But my real first job, that was I had to do something, right? My real first job was
$25 a day?
A day.
Okay.
Because that was when you could do free internships. I think that's got to
be a child labor law or something in there.
I wasn't a child, but...
Kind of a child. We're still children, Monica.
We are. But that was when free internships were all the rage. You just... Every new job or first job, you didn't get paid. And I was living in New York. It was nuts. But I got hired. I got my first paid internship, which turned into my first full-time role at a wonderful agency. It was a PR agency, and I did PR for ad tech companies.
Nice.
I had no idea what I was writing in those press releases, but it was a great first job.
They were probably we were putting our best writer on this account.
Yeah. I had no idea what I was doing. And it's funny. That was my major in college, but I went into that job and they'd be like, create a media list. I'm like, I have no idea what that is. So not good for Auburn University.
That's fair. Shout out Auburn. What would your final meal be? And I'm guessing it's disgusting.
What my husband...
It can't be the answer to the last question. That would be weird if you said you're discussing that.
You're right. This was.
Is this going to be the stupid Doritos from Auburn, whatever
No,
I'm
Mama
thinking
G's?
of?
No. He said...
Also, to be clear, I'm a fan of Mama G's.
Mama G's is the best.
I think the Dorito...
And Auburn is the best. No hate to the PR department at Auburn.
Yeah, no hate to anybody. I thought you were going to say the Dorito nachos. I think they're overrated. The first time I tried them, I was like, this is what all the hype's about, but neither here nor there.
You can make them yourself. You know this,
100%,
right?
100%.
Yes. But it's about the experience, right?
Yeah. We're all about experience here. What would your final meal be?
So my husband was like, it would be Chipotle or this meal Arroz Mexicana from Ceviche, which is in Roswell, which is basically just queso on rice with some protein. And he's like, you're disgusting if you choose that.
That's just boring. I feel like it's boring. Monica, you have one meal left, and that's the meal?
That's what he said I would choose, but I would choose because it's nostalgic for me and my favorite. I was born in Dayton, Ohio, and there's this place, Marion's there, and their pizza is just the best. It's small little squares with like as much sausage as you can put on it. If anyone's in Dayton, they need to try it, but that would be my last meal.
I hope Marion's wants to sponsor this podcast now.
I don't know if they have the budgets, if I'm being honest.
That's fair. It's also adorable that you think it's also adorable that you think this requires a lot of money to sponsor this. I'll cut that part out. My final question: who is somebody who inspires you personally, professionally, or both?
Yeah, so professionally, the CEO of Bobby. I don't know if you've heard of that brand.
Yeah, Bobbie, right?
You nailed it.
What do they do? I was just
baby
looking at
formula.
Okay.
So I met her and I followed her for a while before I was able to meet her, but her name's Laura Modi, and she created a product and is so true to her brand in everything that they do. It's unbelievable, and she is an amazing human and also just an inspiration from a professional standpoint, and she impacted my life tremendously by creating a new baby formula that's organic and has healthy ingredients, and it's FDA approved, which is unheard of. So I was unable to nurse, and that product saved me. And then just seeing what they do from a marketing perspective, it's tremendous. So she would be professional, and then I would say both, and this is cheesy, but is my mom. My mom literally, when I first started out, she was writing my press releases. We got into a huge fight at one point because I got a job interview and didn't tell her when I moved to New York, because she was helping me so much, but she's my biggest fan. She always has been. And I lost my dad during COVID, and she has just been the most wonderful support professionally and personally. And I mean, she cares so much about how I'm doing. And she was a teacher, but was mostly a stay-at-home mom. And seeing me as full-time job with 2 kiddos, she's always there when I need her, no matter what. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get her on the podcast next.
She's funny. She'd give you a hard time, probably, like I do.
Okay, that's fair. I expect nothing less. But no, this was great. You survived your first podcast.
That's it?
That's it? Yeah, I was gonna.
How long has it been?
I mean, we're still recording. There's like one thing left. I was gonna say, if anybody wants to learn more about you, I'd say go to LinkedIn. But if they want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on the best damn coconut water out there, they should go to 100coconuts.com. Correct?
Correct. We're in the middle of a website refresh, though, so maybe come back at the end of March. No, it's great. You can order the product there.
That's great. Please don't spend any. You're the first person. Please don't buy anything.
No, go
today.
to Amazon. Go to Amazon.
Okay.
We're on Amazon. We're in Publix, Winn-Dixie, GoPuff.
Yeah, let's go.
We'll just
go
do the whole
old school.
list.
Go
Yeah.
into a Publix. Live your truth. Get out in the universe.
That's what I did this morning to get this beautiful canned.
It's what I love to
coconut
see.
water.
I'm going to go buy some after this. But thank you very much for joining us, and we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you for checking out this episode of You Should Talk To. This show is brought to you by the company with the same name, You Should Talk To, a company that helps marketing leaders find the right agency or freelancer for their situation. If you enjoyed what you learned in this episode, make sure to follow You Should Talk To wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or visit YouShouldTalkTo.com for more information.